Fizban's Treasury of Dragons is a new D&D sourcebook that was just released today. This book has everything from new subclasses, magic items, spells, and more. So today we're going to be going over all of the cool new spells and magic items in this sourcebook so you can add them to your campaign. Since this book only technically added 7 new spells, we'll start off with that and then move on into the magic items. But no more intro, let's go ahead and jump right in. The first spell listed is a 3rd level transmutation spell called Ashardalon Stride. I think I said that right. Ashardalon Stride. There we go, that one worked. You can use a bonus action and concentrate on the spell for up to a minute to increase your movement speed by 20 feet and not provoke attacks of opportunity. Also, when you move after casting the spell, you leave a trail of heat behind you, dealing 1d6 damage to any creature within 5 feet of you that you pass. This is a really cool get the hell out of there spell for casters since your movement does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And you can run away with your increased speed and honestly probably be out of their range for their entire next round of combat. Honestly, for the first spell in this book, I gotta say this is really strong. I think this is almost something you take every single time you have the opportunity. It is a 3rd level spell, which is a bit pricey, but quite honestly, since it is technically a get out of jail free card, I would gladly pay that price, considering most casters generally die at low levels anyways. Next up, we have the holy shit, this book has no chill 7th level spell, Draconic Transformation. This spell allows you to use a bonus action to concentrate up to a minute and take on draconic features, essentially transforming into a dragon. You gain wings that grant you 60-foot flying speed, you gain blind sight out to 30 feet, and you gain a breath weapon that you can use as a bonus action each turn thereafter. You may not transform into a fully fledged dragon, but at this point, why does it matter? Because you're essentially one anyways. The breath weapon is a 60-foot cone dealing 68 force damage or half as much on a successful save. And the kicker is you can do this every round for a bonus action. You can literally fly up in the air and breathe down death and destruction upon your enemies from above. For those of you interested in the numbers, that is the same amount of average damage as a 3rd level fireball every bonus action on your turns thereafter. Only this dragon's breath has a much wider range of effect than a simple fireball. The only problem with this spell is probably that it is a 7th level spell slot that takes up the slot from teleport, and that is arguably one of the most important spells in the game, particularly once you're higher level. But I mean, honestly, who doesn't want to be a freaking dragon? It's gonna be a tough choice. And who knows, maybe later on in the book you might have something similar to this. Moving on. Here we have the 6th level abjuration spell, Fizban's Platinum Shield. Another bonus action concentration spell that creates a shield around yourself or another creature you choose. While the shield is up, that creature gains half cover, resistances to a bunch of types of damages, as well as essentially the rogue evasion feature where you take no damage on a successful dex save or half as much on a failed save. You can move this spell around from creature to creature of your choice every round after for a bonus action, but honestly that still seems a little bit underpowered for me. The only thing that this spell does that you can't do with other items or abilities is the evasion, and honestly that's a bit niche either way. It's a cool spell and a good idea in general, but honestly for a 6th level spell I'm left wanting a little bit more. Next we have Nether's Mischief, a 2nd level illusion spell, and if you haven't already guessed, yes, it does require concentration. You fill a 20-foot cube with magic and essentially roll on a mischievous surge table similar to the wild magic sorcerer, however it's a little bit lesser than that. The spell has a bunch of flavor text, but effectively you have a 25% chance to either charm a creature, blind a creature, incapacitate a creature, or create difficult terrain. I love spells like this just simply because of the randomness of it, however in terms of practicality it's a bit iffy. Since there's only a 25% chance to get any of these actual effects, and the effects that affect creatures, they still get to make saves, it makes it a bit hard to pull out in specific situations. But nonetheless, being a 2nd level spell, it makes it a bit easier to kind of warrant picking up rather than it being a level 3rd spell where spells kind of really start to ramp up. It is still a super cool spell, and honestly I'd still probably take it. Next up we have the 4th level enchantment spell, and I know I'm going to say this wrong so I apologize, Ralathim's Psychic Lance. This spell has a 120-foot range, and that matters for one reason and one reason only. You can cast a spell at any creature you can see within range, or you can simply speak the creature's name without having seen them and still strike them with this attack. As long as that target is within the 120-foot range, they will still be hit. This spell is really good specifically for retreating foes because it deals 7d6 psychic damage, and if they fail a save, they are incapacitated for that round. The big part about that is the fact that this save requires an intelligence saving throw. Intelligence saves, for those that don't know, are statistically the lowest saves across all monsters in D&D 5e, making it a pretty good chance that they're going to get incapacitated. Not to mention 7d6 psychic damage is still a good chunk of damage. I just love the thought that this spell can be used without having to actually see your target, and I might be a little bit biased, but honestly I think it's really unique and definitely gives some flavor and food for thought when you're picking your spells. Next up we have Rhyme's Binding Ice, which is a 2nd level evocation spell. And even though it's arguably one of the simpler spells, it's probably one of my favorites. You create a burst of cold energy within a 30-foot cone, dealing 3d8 cold damage or half as much on a successful con save. If the creature fails their save, they are hindered by ice for up to 1 minute, or until another creature attempts to break them out using their action, essentially freezing the targets. A creature frozen this way has their movement speed reduced to 0. I have always said D&D needed some more ways to kind of flavor ice spells, and this spell is exactly what I meant by that. Forcing a creature to spend their action to break an ally out is so good, and it really fits the whole cold damage motif that I've been looking for in spells. Since it's only a 2nd level spell, the competition for those spell slots isn't really that bad, and even if you don't pick it up immediately at level 1, you can still pick it up on later down the road once you get more 2nd level slots. Honestly, I'm still probably going to take this spell because I love ice spells, but hey, that's me. And the last spell we have is a Summon Draconic Spirit, a 5th level conjuration spell requiring concentration lasting up to an hour. With it, you summon forth a Draconic Spirit with its own stat block that follows your command and follows your turn in combat initiative. The spirit has 50 base hit points, 19 base AC, and a resistance to certain types of damage depending upon the type of dragon spirit you summon. 50 hit points isn't that much, but honestly 19 AC is pretty damn good. Not only that, it has multi-attack, a breath weapon, and something known as shared resistance. While a dragon is summoned, the caster can actually choose one of their resistances that the dragon has and gain it themselves. Overall, the spell is very, very similar to other conjuration spells at 5th level, like Conjure Minor Elemental or something like that, but honestly, with the added flavor and the added bonus of damage resistance, a super cool spell. But that concludes all of the spells in the book thus far that I've read, at least. I might be missing some, I don't think I am. Let's go ahead and move on to the magic items, which take up pretty much most of this video. The first item we're looking at is going to be the Amethyst Lodestone. This item has 6 charges, and while you're holding it, you have advantage on strength saving throws. It regains its charges at dawn, but those charges can be used for one of 3 different purposes. 1, you can spend 1 charge and gain 10 minutes of flight. 2, you can use the gravitational thrust and force an enemy to make a DC 18 strength save or be pushed back 20 feet. Or 3, you can use 3 charges of this lodestone and cast reverse gravity with the same DC of 18. Now, I don't know about you, that last one seems a little bit stronger than the others, and I'd probably only use it for that one, but realistically, pretty cool. Being able to cast a 7th level spell at will from an item with a pretty high DC is outrageously good. I suppose it all depends upon when you receive this item, if it would be game breaking or crazy good, but honestly, compared to some other items on this list, this doesn't even top the charts. Next up, we have the Crystal Blade. A blade made from a horn or a spine of a crystal dragon that deals an extra D8 radiant damage on hit. The cool thing about this sword is that when you hit, the sword also has 3 charges you can use to expend and heal yourself for the radiant damage that is dealt during that turn. You can also use a bonus action to shed bright light within 30 feet around you, similar to the effect of the Sunblade that we talked about in our last video. Overall, nothing crazy, but honestly, I love the imagery, and quite honestly, the healing effect is a very cool addition to what would be otherwise just a stat increase of damage. Next up, we have the Dragonhide Belt that has multiple forms, being a +1, a +2, or a +3 that requires attunement by a monk. While wearing this belt, you gain a bonus to your saving throw DCs for any of your key features, depending upon the rarity of the belt. You can also use an action to roll a martial arts die to give yourself key points once per day. This item, depending on the rarity you give your players, may actually be the first potentially broken item on this list. This is because monks have a lot of cool things they can do with their key points, but they have a little thing that many of us know as Stunning Strike. Sparing the details, stunning a creature is arguably the most effective way to end their life as quick as possible. This is generally balanced out by the relatively low DC that monks have for their key point abilities. Adding a +3 to that required DC makes it much more effective, and quite honestly, it's probably pushing the limits of balance. If I gave this to my players, I would probably only give them a +1 or maybe a +2 version depending upon their level, but honestly, it's just so damn strong. I love monks. They are probably my second favorite class, and while I would love this as a player, I would hate to deal with this as a DM, so do yourself a favor and don't give them the +3 version of this. Great item, super cool. I love specific class items like this, but it's got potential to be broken as hell, so be careful. Next up, we have Dragon Lance, our first legendary item on the list. A weapon forged with powerful artifacts from Bahamut himself. This weapon is a +3 weapon, granting +3 to all attack and damage rolls with this item, as well as when you hit a dragon with it, it deals an extra 3d6 damage. Once you hit a dragon with the Dragon Lance, you can choose a dragon that you can see around you, and that dragon then can make an attack using the reaction. I gotta be honest, I'm not entirely sure how having a dragon make an attack as a reaction would be a bonus for you. Maybe it's assuming you have an allied dragon on your team, and that would be kind of cool, but honestly, I'm gonna have to take a deeper look into this and see how it actually works, but that's the item. Next we have the Dragon Wing Bow. This bow automatically produces its own ammunition, which is cool enough. But on top of that, it also deals an extra d6 damage of the damage type associated with the bow you found. Fire, acid, lightning, stuff like that. And while this is a cool magical item where you can actually summon magic and shoot magic bolts at people, it's really only just giving you additional damage, so it's not too groundbreaking. But this next item, the Emerald Pen, isn't groundbreaking either. While holding this pen, you can cast Illusory Script at will, requiring no components. An item that allows you to cast a spell at will. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but I gotta admit, Illusory Script is a really cool spell by itself, albeit it's a bit niche. So definitely not an item you're gonna write home about, but still cool nonetheless. The second legendary item, however, that we have on the list is one that you're going to write home about, if you don't live in your mom's basement like I do. And that would be the Flail of Tiamat. A flail made in the image of Tiamat with 5 spiked heads that gives +3 to all attack and damage rolls made with this weapon. When you hit with an attack, you deal 5d4 damage of your choice, being either acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. You can also spend an action to have the heads breathe multicolored flames in a 90-foot cone. Any creatures caught in that 90-foot cone must succeed on a dex saving throw of 18 or take 14d6 damage of your choice, or half as much on a successful save. Now this is what I call a legendary item. The Dragon Lance has nothing on this bad Larry. It is literally a pocket Tiamat. And just to put that damage into perspective, 14d6 is the effective damage of a 9th level fireball. So yeah, it's a bit strong. Another legendary item that we have on the list is the Gold Canary Figurine of Wondrous Power. If you're familiar with the figurine style items, this essentially turns into a creature and grants you some benefit. This figurine can either turn into a giant canary form that you can use as a mount, or an adult gold dragon for an entire hour. And yes, you do have to have half your hit points to actually call upon the gold dragon, but what the f***? Just to recap real quick, so far in this book we can summon a gold dragon and transform to effectively become a dragon. Oh man, I love this book. After the gold dragon has been summoned, you cannot use this for an entire year after, so this is definitely an oh shit, we need to use this right now moment kind of item. But still, super cool, and honestly an item that I never thought would be implemented into the game. Next up, another legendary item. Spoiler, there's a lot of them. We have the Platinum Scarf. As an action, you can use one of 3 effects up to 3 times a day. The first effect is the Breath of Life. Heal a creature that you choose, yourself or someone else, that you can touch for 10d4. The second would be the Platinum Shield. Create a +1 shield that you can use or you can give to a creature that essentially grants immunity to radiant damage and gives a +1 to AC. And 3, Radiant Hammer. You can create a Radiant Hammer of Light, then give it to another creature or use it yourself that deals 2d4 damage or 4d4 damage to chromatic dragons. Some pretty cool effects here, but honestly being able to heal 10d4 is pretty strong. This item would be really good for some martial melee class that can't heal themselves naturally, or honestly just kind of a support item. But here we go. This is the item, everybody. This is the one that we're going to talk about and everyone's going to be shitting their pants over. The Potion of Dragon's Majesty. What the fuck? This potion contains a single scale of a dragon, and when you drink this potion, you transform into an adult dragon of that type. I honestly don't know what to say about this item, other than what the f***. The Ruby Weave Gem. Another legendary item that has 3 charges that allows the caster to ignore up to 500 gold of components per charge spent. You can also choose a spell from any class list in the morning after a long rest and add it to your spell list. And that right there is why I love this item. Being able to pull a spell from another class list is just so good, and even though you can only choose one, you can mix and match it every day since it's every time after a long rest. This is an example of one of those items that I think is very powerful, but well balanced to not be game breaking. Very well designed item in my opinion, and honestly I love love it. It's just so cool. Next up, we have the Sapphire Buckler. This is a shield created from a Sapphire Dragon scale that grants you resistance to both psychic and thunder damage. You can also use your reaction when you take damage from a creature within 5 feet of you to deal 2d6 thunder damage to that creature. No save required for the damage, which is really nice. You can also use the action through the shield to locate aberrations within 1 mile of your current location. This ability, even though it only lasts for a moment, gives you the knowledge of knowing every aberration within 1 mile and the directions they are from you. So it's got a bit of practical battle usage as well as some very nice versatility with aberrations. I love items like this. They do really well standalone as is, but it's one of those ones that you forget about until you actually need that effect and they come in clutch. And finally, we have the Topaz Annihilator. Another legendary weapon, only this one's a gun. It resembles a musket, has a range of 100 feet to 300 feet, deals 2d6 necrotic damage on a hit. If the creature hit is reduced to 0 hit points, they are reduced to dust. Very similar to the Disintegrate spell, only to be brought back with a True Resurrection or a Wish spell. And you can also use this weapon to cast Disintegrate from it once per day with a DC of 18. So there's that. This item just really likes turning things to dust. So there are a lot of really powerful items and a lot of legendary items in this book, so make sure you read them before you add them into your campaign. But now we get to the end of the item section where the book goes over describing horde magic items and draconic gifts. I'm not going to go over these in this video because honestly, this video is already long enough as it is, but I probably will make another video about them. If you like content like this, I did post some links to other videos like it in the description below. If you're interested, you can go check that out. Also, I would love to hear what you think about Fizban's Treasury of the Dragons in the comments below. I always read them and nearly always reply, and who knows, I might even feature it in my next video. But with that all being said, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Have fun with all these wonderful, overpowered magical items, and I will see you on Friday.